Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about a paper that found associations between personality traits and coital orgasmic infrequency in heterosexual women. Last time I talked about different types of orgasms. Today I'm going to talk about these women who cannot orgasm at all. So I want you to think about that time when you or your partner could not orgasm, or that friend of yours who's never been able to orgasm. So when asked about the orgasm of last sexual encounter, 36% of women said they couldn't orgasm at their last sexual encounter, while 10% of men said they couldn't. So we all know someone who couldn't orgasm at some point. Anorgasmia, which is the inability or the recurrent and persistent inability to orgasm or have delayed orgasm, is actually very prevalent. So studies show that it's between 20 and 30%. And is the second most frequently reported sexual dysfunction in women. So previous research has shown that for women, anorgasmia is linked mainly to mental and social problems, not physical problems. So for men, it's actually physical problems that are the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems is communication problems with their partners. So women that do not communicate well have problems reaching orgasm. The other problems are marital difficulties, depression, and anxiety. So today's paper is called Normal Variations in Personality are Associated with Coital Orgasmic Infrequency in Heterosexual Women. And since for women, coital orgasmic infrequency is mostly related to mental and social problems, researchers hypothesized that certain domains of personality could in fact be associated and predict coital orgasmic infrequency in heterosexual women, even after controlling for confounding factors and genetics. So this study has been done in the UK, and it was based on this weird twins UK registry. So the UK has this twins registry that has both identical and non-identical twins. And just in case you don't know what twins look like, this is like and these are actual twins from the study. So 8,418 female twins were mailed 2 types of surveys. The first survey was demographic and risk factors and sexual behavior survey. So it asked everything from the marital status to the age, both at first intercourse, menstruation, current age, family, so whether they have children, they don't have children, smoking habits, social status, religion, and history of depression. They were also asked about sexual abuse and physical abuse when the subjects were children, and whether the person is sexually active. And then they asked about orgasm frequency. So overall, how frequently do you experience an orgasm during intercourse? 1 never, 7 always. The second follow-up survey was a test personality survey. It was based on the TIPI survey that considers 5 domains of personality that are essential. So extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness. So they think that every personality is based on these 5 factors. So the analysis was mainly made by logistic strand regression. After controlling for both confounding factors, then controlling for within twin pairs personality differences. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about the results. So first what they did is they took the FAST survey and they found all the risk factors or the potential risk factors. Took a logistic regression of all of them with both the dependent and independent variables, so with both coital orgasmic frequency and the personality traits, and found that only childhood sexual abuse and marriage status and childlessness are correlated with both. And so these are the actual confounding factors that they would control for throughout the analysis. So the results. Only 2,632 people answered both surveys. So about 5,000 people answered the first survey, another 5,000 people answered the second survey, but only 2,632 answered both. And, and these are how they were distributed. So they actually only took into consideration the high-frequency orgasm cohorts and the low-frequency orgasm cohorts. Did not take these into consideration, just so that the logistic regression compared the two different cohorts. All right. What did they find? They found that personality traits significant, like the only significant ones are the introversion, emotional stability, and openness to new experiences. What does that mean? If a person is more introverted, they're more likely to have problems orgasming. If a person are emotionally unstable, they're also more likely to experience anorgasmia or orgasmic problems. And people that are open to new experiences are just less likely to have orgasmic problems, which makes sense. While they found agreeableness and conscientiousness not important at all. The odds ratio do not say much. All they say is that they don't include the 1, which is the chances of them being the same for the two cohorts, so for the low frequency and the high frequency cohorts. So after that, they tried to control for genetics. So we know that both personality and sexual dysfunction can depend on genetics. And so they were like, why don't we take advantage of the fact that we have twins and take the twin pairs where there's one twin has anorgasmia and the other twin did not have anorgasmia, and compare between the two different personalities. And what they found was that introversion and emotional instability were still significant, even after controlling for genetics. And so as we see, the people that have low frequency orgasms are more likely to be introverted and emotionally unstable than their twins who are extroverted and stable emotionally. So basically what we found was female coital orgasmic frequency is associated with 3 risk factors: childhood sexual abuse, unmarried status, and childlessness, as well as 3 different personality traits: introversion, openness to new ideas, and emotional stability. Only introversion and emotional stability were still significant after controlling for genetics. From an evolutionary point of view, this makes sense. So a woman does not need an orgasm for her egg to be fertilized, but she needs orgasm for the bonding and the stability of her relationship, which will enable her to have more resources that are provided from her partner. And so a woman who's more introverted or emotionally unstable is just less likely to create that bonding and stability within her relationship. So, of course, the study has limitation problems, right? So the first one is response bias. Only 2003, so the people that answered the survey might be biased from the questions. For example, one of the questions asked them if they were sexually active, and even if they weren't, but they were active at some point, they should recall how many orgasms they had. One of the participants was 80. So like how well would she recall the number of orgasms when she was 50 or 40? So this is the response bias. There's also selection bias. We had 8,000 people received 2 surveys, and only 2,600 people actually answered both surveys. And so we had a big population. We only got a sample, and the sample was not really randomized. So the main takeaway is there are associations between personality traits and coital orgasmic infrequency, and especially with when the person is introverted or the person has problems with emotional stability. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.